127, Friday, December 11th. A lot to talk about, my friends, on tonight's show. But I tell you, the big story by far is that more Republicans have now signed on as co-conspirators in Donald Trump's coup. Now, 126 Republicans in the House have signed on in a brief urging to overthrow the Biden presidency, to throw out the votes of 80 million Americans and install Donald Trump as president. Look, we've discussed this countless times. We all know this is a coup. And let me be blunt. I didn't use those terms a month ago. I was very, very clear. As a lawyer myself, I believe that Donald Trump had the right to every recount. He had the right to litigate cases in federal court or state court to make a showing of fraud. And if there was fraud, then there'd be a remedy fashioned by the court. It could be throwing votes out. It could be a new election for part of a state or an entire state. But Trump lost all of that. He's lost the recounts. And he's lost every single lawsuit alleging anything to throw votes out. In federal and state court, everyone, they're gone. We've already passed the safe harbor deadline, Electoral Count Act. On Monday, the Electoral College is going to vote to make Joe Biden the president-elect formally. The allegations of fraud, since they've been thrown out by every court because Donald Trump and his lawyers cannot make a showing of objective, credible evidence, means this: it's a smokescreen for a coup. We know that. These Republicans know it. They've signed on to a coup. Let me ask you this. Where in history have people who have engaged in a coup that failed did not get held accountable? Where? No, if you engage in a coup, you must be held accountable. There must be consequences for your action, because if not, then in the future, there will be attempted coup after attempted coup until someone succeeds, and our democracy, our democratic republic, is gone. You must have consequences. And finally, a Democratic member of Congress a short time ago called for consequences. And he's from Jersey. And it's not a coincidence, because in Jersey, we see through this BS. We call it what it is. And I really encourage people, as I said on Morning Joe last week, channel your inner Jersey. You got to be blunt. The stakes are too high. Well, Bill Pascrell, Democratic congressman from North Jersey, who's been on my show before, put out a letter, detailed letter, and very clearly he said, "Today I'm calling on House leaders to refuse to seat any members trying to overturn the election and make Donald Trump an unelected dictator." Close quotes. Perfect. Refuse to seat members who are trying to overthrow the election, overthrow the Biden presidency, and insert Donald Trump. There is no good faith basis to do this. There's zero. It's a lie to say there is. You're a part of the coup if you're saying there's, because there's not, because they had the chance to do it. They had numerous court cases, over 50, lost them all. In this letter, he went on first to talk about in more detail. I want to read a little bit more of it, because it I think is a letter that historians will look back at and saying, wow, Bill Pascrell led the pushback against the coup in the bluntest terms possible, because both folks, taking the high road to an attempted coup, taking the high road to an authoritarian, taking the high road to fascist is a recipe for losing. You can't. Now, what Bill Pascrell did, he said in his letter, stated simply, men and women who would act to tear the United States government apart cannot serve as members of Congress. He adds, these lawsuits seek to obliterate public confidence in our democratic system by invalidating the clear results of the 2020 presidential election. And he said, it undermines the oath they have taken to defend our nation. And he goes on in this letter to the Democratic House leadership, I call on you to exercise the power of your offices to evaluate steps you can take to address the constitutional violations of Congress, and if possible, refuse to seat in the 117th Congress any members-elect seeking to make Donald Trump an unelected dictator. Period. Close quotes. Exactly. Exactly. There must be consequences. 120 Republicans have put their name to a document calling for the overthrow of our democracy. There's no other way to put it. Again, if there was a good faith basis for fraud, they could show it in a court. And if they succeeded, I would acknowledge it and I would defer to it. I said, there, you made your case. And now it was never going to be one court's going to say, Trump is now president. That's not what could happen. They throw out some ballots if there were fraud, or if there was massive fraud or widespread, order new elections in certain areas. It's not throwing out ballots and making someone else president. That doesn't work that way. That's not the American system. It might be the system some Trump supporters believe we should have. That's not our system. not our Constitution. It's not our constitutional republic. So, to be clear, under Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution, the House leadership has broad powers in discipline and in terms of expelling members. And there's three things they can basically do: expulsion, censorship, or reprimand. Now, it would take 2/3 of the House to expel someone. It's going to be hard considering there are Republicans who are not going to go along with it. I think it should at least be discussed. If not, there should be censure. It's toothless, but at least it says something. And I got to tell you, when I look back at some of the history of using censure, it was done in the lead up to the Civil War to censure members of Congress who were openly calling for the overthrow of our government. Let's be clear. These Republicans are now swearing loyalty to a new Confederacy. They're swearing loyalty to a new Jefferson Davis. They're Donald Trump. And so much of this is white supremacy. In our history, when white supremacy is challenged, it was used violence. We are one step removed from that. And later today on the show, I have former FBI agent and current MSNBC national security analyst Frank Figluzzi on, who makes it very clear what Donald Trump is doing is bringing people to the doorstep of violence by saying this is a rigged election, him using the term coup when there's no evidence of fraud, him saying there's fraud, making an existential threat. And these Republicans, if there's acts of violence, are also co-conspirators in that, at least morally, if not legally. So, Donald Trump and his members of Congress, they might think somehow in history we're going to be viewed as fighters. No. Donald Trump and the GOP members engaged as co-conspirators will be viewed as traitors. And that's what they are. This is where we are right now. They put it in writing. Their names are there for all of us to see. So I'll discuss this more on my show tonight. But again, if there are no consequences at all, if you don't hold people accountable for an attempted coup, they're going to do it again and again. There must be consequences. Expelling them from Congress would be a great step, if possible. There is a chance, considering only 60% of all the House Republicans signed on to this. If all the other Republicans, the 90 others who didn't sign on, and the Democrats join, maybe they expel some of the ringleaders of this coup and let people in their district vote for someone else. We'll talk about that and more. My show is live 6 to 9 p.m. on channel 127 Sirius XM. If you don't subscribe to Sirius XM, go to the website. There's free trials. Check it out. Join the show. Just don't listen. Tune in. Be a part of it, though. Give us a call. Be a part of our family. You want progress, stay active. And that's what my show is all about. Thanks for tuning in.